Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Welcome into the Steelers Talk Live Show. I am your host, Jack Sperry. Jeffrey Cooperstein, our producer today. Coop, how are we doing today, man?
I am well. It's a great Thursday. There's a very good football game on later tonight.
Yes.
So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to get some revenge on the Steamers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Sunday is going to be one that I'm going to be very excited. And this is why I was kind of happy that you played the Browns and you played them two weeks later, because I couldn't handle Browns fans another 7 weeks or whatever, getting the bragging rights, all right? It's just a 2-week break. It was on a Thursday night game, so it's not really that long ago since Cleveland beat us. But hey, man, this Sunday, you're at home. You're not going to be playing in a blizzard. It's not on a short week. Cleveland is on a short week because they just played on Monday Night Football. Everything last time he played them kind of went in Cleveland's favor. This time around, it feels like everything is going in Pittsburgh's favor. They're coming off a huge shootout victory versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and it certainly seems like the Steelers are going to be primed to get some awesome revenge on Sunday. On today's show, guys, we got a bunch of great stuff coming your way. The latest news and rumors. There are some rumblings right now that the Steelers are not planning on giving George Pickens an extension, and there are even more people that are speculating that George Pickens may demand an extension or ask to be traded.
It's not clickbait.
And it's not clickbait. This is something that is being discussed right now in Steelers circles. So we'll discuss that today and my thoughts on that. Also, Russell Wilson, Coop, is playing even better than you think that he's playing right now. As good as you think he's playing, he's probably playing even better when you look at the stats. We'll take a look at those stats in our first segment today. Then we'll get into our Week 14 preview, Steelers versus Browns. Got some keys to victory for you guys, team trends. Talk about how Jameis Winston's playing. He's actually playing pretty decent. This is now the third straight year in a row where Deshaun Watson's backup is playing better than him, which is just absolutely unbelievable.
He's done, right?
It's the most Browns thing I've ever heard in my life. No, it sounds like they're going to bring him back next year.
No way. How?
It sounds like they're going to bring him back next year somehow. Just because they're the Cleveland Clowns, man. They're the Cleveland Steamers. They're going to consistently shoot themselves in the foot. But you know what, Coop? I want them to bring back Deshaun Watson. He was the worst quarterback in football when he was playing for the Browns this year. And I don't know who their backup quarterback's going to be next year, but I would say that's probably the number one backup quarterback job in the National Football League.
Because you know you're going to play.
Because you know Deshaun Watson sucks, and you're probably going to get a chance to play at some point during the year. And then we will have our Steelers Talk Live mailbag at the end of today's show, our final segment today, guys. So if you want to get a question on the show, you want to tell me I'm an idiot, you have a question that you want me to answer, whatever the case may be, type hashtag Steelers down there in the live chat. Or you guys can super chat any amount, $1, $2, $5, whatever amount you want to super chat. If you put your question in there, it guarantees that your question gets on the mailbag today. So Coop, today we got a bunch of great stuff to deliver to the people of Steelers Nation. But before we get into that, it's a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. And guys, we all know that experiencing a Steelers football game at Acrisure Stadium live is unlike anything you can get from watching the game on your couch, especially this time of year, man, because it's colder outside, the terrible towels are flying, Renegade playing in the fourth quarter. There's just nothing like being there in person. So if you guys want to go see more Steelers games this year, use Game Time Picks, the brand new feature from Game Time, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Cassie and I are actually going to be going to the Cowboys and Bengals game at AT&T Stadium for Monday Night Football this upcoming week. We got our tickets with Game Time Picks. We got a great deal, less than $100 for tickets for the both of us.
Wow.
And that is an excellent deal for Monday Night Football game, guys. So if you guys want to get that going right now, all you have to do, download the Game Time app, find an event you want to go see, select the Game Time Picks button, and it automatically filters through the entire app and their entire database of tickets for that game to find you the best tickets at the best seats with the best prices for the best deals for you and your family. What I love about using the Game Time app is you get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event, all-in pricing so you don't get slapped with a crazy fee at checkout, and flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So if you guys want to send in a donation today, guys, really do appreciate all of your guys' support. It's not required by any stretch of the imagination, but if you guys want to tip us here and help out the show a little bit, and you guys want more of your donation dollars to go towards us to help us improve our graphics, improve our studio, improve our equipment, improve our office space, all that great stuff, you guys can send that money into Venmo at Jack-Sperry, # Captain Jack 19 on Cashapp, or at Captain Jackrabbit on PayPal. Really do appreciate your guys' support. Again, guys, you can screenshot this right now on your phone if you're watching us on mobile, so you always know where you guys can send in your donation dollars. If we're not going to say no to Super Chat, guys, but they take 40% of every single dollar, or 30%, I think. 30%.
30 plus 10 if you're on Apple.
Yeah, so if you send it in on like an iPhone, then it's like 40% of the money you send in goes to Apple and Google, and I think we can all agree they make enough money. So if you guys want to send in your donations to Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, we would appreciate it. Here's our Black Diamonds, guys. I still have to get to some of the stickers, but I appreciate each and every person that has put in $500 or more on a singular Steelers Talk live show. Also, guys, if you don't have $500 to spend, that's okay, because usually during our watch parties, Platinum 666, Kurgan Cold, and others tend to donate some stickers, all right? So if you want a chance to be a future Steelers Talk Black Diamond, make sure you're watching all of our live shows, make sure you're clicking that subscribe button, make sure you're liking all of our videos, and make sure you're always in the chat hyping each other up. I'm going to try to knock out some more stickers this weekend, guys, so if I still haven't gotten to your sticker, I apologize, but I'm going to be getting to more of them here as the week goes on. Shout out to our most recent Black Diamonds and Christine Miller, Thick Klappa, Unknown, Wolf Vane, Captain Ford Guns, and Troy Obuga. All right, guys, let's get into our first segment today. The latest news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some very juicy stuff surrounding George Pickens is at the top of the show there. Then also, we're going to be getting into our Week 14 preview versus the Browns by the end of today's show. And don't forget, guys, hashtag Steelers down there in the live chat or super chat to get into the mailbag here. We do have our first super chat coming in here,
yes,
so if we want to get to that here momentarily here. I want to give a shout out here to all the real ones in the chat right now. We got Colton in the chat. Nothing is here. Family Ever After. Robert is here. Dylan Lewandowski is here. Ethan, Justin Thompson. Got a bunch of great people in the chat right now, guys. But we got our first super chat coming in from Pickens. Burner says, I've heard Browns fans say Jerry Jeudy is better than Pickens. What do you say to that?
I won't lie. Jerry Jeudy had a hell of a game on Monday Night Football.
Jerry Jeudy's having the best season of his career.
Yeah.
Ever since they traded away Amari Cooper, he's been their number one target guy, and he's been really good. All right, he had a really good game against the Broncos. He's not better than George freaking Pickens. He's just not, all right? Like, do you maybe trust him a little bit more? Maybe. But because George, as we know, gets the 15-yard penalties. He's not necessarily the hardest worker in the world, according to the reports in the Steelers building. He shows up late to meetings and to practices.
I'm curious to see if they show any George Pickens behind the scenes on Hard Knocks.
I'm sure they will at some point. Last week, they actually showed, after the interception, you remember Tomlin took George Pickens aside and held him to his head. And they showed their interaction, and Tomlin was pretty much like, we're not going to let this define us today. And George wasn't looking at him. And I mean, this is just perfect Mike Tomlin. He goes, look at me. And it's just so good, man. Like Mike Tomlin, if nobody can make it, if Mike can't make it work with George Pickens, nobody's going to make it work with George Pickens. Plain and simply, Coop. I think that if George is going to work anywhere in the league, it's going to be here. And I think when it comes to talent, he's a top 5 receiver in the game. And yes, he's a much, much better football player than Jerry Jeudy, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. I think he's a better football player as well. And he fits the Steelers better too. So I think he's better for sure. Nothing deleted a message, but I want to out him and bring up what he said because I saw the message.
What was it?
He said, what do Jack Sperry and Jim Kelly have in common?
I'm afraid of rings. I saw some, I don't know if it was nothing or somebody else, but somebody else put that in the chat last week, and I think they did it with Daniel Jones or something.
That is hilarious.
I'm just gonna leave that be, all right, folks. So let's get into this.
I don't think Cassie's watching right now.
I think she is. I think Cassie is usually watching.
Not in the chat.
I don't see her in the chat, so I guess we'll see. Keenan is here. What's up, Keenan? Good to see you. Jason L says, what I missed? Not much. We just started off the show here, guys, so I really do appreciate your support. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. It really does help out the YouTube algorithm. So if you're a real one, you're clicking that thumbs up icon right now. Without further ado, guys, I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. Let's get into our news and rumors segment here on today's edition of Steelers Talk Live. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we got a bunch of great Steelers news and rumors to cover for you guys on today's program. First up here, no, it is not a clickbait. We will be talking about George Pickens and the potential that he ends up getting traded by the Pittsburgh Steelers to another football team this upcoming offseason. There's some reports that the Steelers are not going to be giving him an extension. I think we all know how volatile the personality of George Pickens can be. We'll talk about that possibility at the top of today's show. And then for as good as you think Russell Wilson has been this year, guys, I'm here to tell you guys he's been even better by the stats. We'll break down his stats in the middle of today's show. Then we'll finish up with some injury updates on guys like Corey Trice Jr. and Calvin Austin III. So make sure you guys stick around to the end of today's show. If you guys want some more Steelers content from me on X, you guys can find me at Jack_Sperry. I put out weekly Russell Wilson film analysis on there. Also put out instant reaction to all the Steelers news that comes out every single day. So if you want that additional and informative Steelers content from me on X, you guys can find me at Jack_Sperry. And then we actually just started a brand new Steelers Talk Instagram page for short form content outside of this YouTube channel. So if you guys want to get that short form content, that daily blast of Steelers news, you guys can go to @SteelersCS on IG. All right, so now let's talk about the George Pickens stuff here, because I find this extremely interesting, okay? Because multiple reports are suggesting now that the Steelers could be trading wide receiver George Pickens next offseason, specifically because they aren't planning on giving him an extension. I've had conversations with a lot of people that are close and have ties to people within the Steelers organization that have told me that the Steelers do not plan to give him an extension. Apparently, Jerry Dulac has heard the same thing. Now, I know what you're saying at home. Jack, it's Jerry Dulac. He's wrong all the time, and you'd be 100% correct about that. So if Jerry Dulac says that he's going to sign, he's not going to get an extension, he's going to be the highest paid receiver in football. But joking aside here, we all know that it's true, guys, that George Pickens is a volatile personality. And if there's anybody that is going to demand a new extension 1 year away before he's supposed to get paid, it's going to be George Pickens, because he has been this team's #1 receiver here, not only this season, but arguably in years past as well. And it certainly seems like he's the type of guy where if the Steelers say, no, we're not going to give you that payday this offseason, you're going to have to play on your current contract or not play at all. He seems like the type of guy that would be like, fine, I'm not going to training camp. Fine, trade me somewhere else, I really hope it doesn't happen. I'm really hoping that George is somebody that's going to, come in next year. And if he gets an extension, great. But if he doesn't, I hope he's still in Latrobe. I hope that he's still in training camp. And, he is a phenomenal talent. I want him here in Pittsburgh. He has been phenomenal not only this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but since he was drafted. This catch was made in his rookie season. He's got size. He's got yak ability. He's got a route running ability that's very underrated, in my opinion. He's one of the best and most talented receivers in football. And if Mike Tomlin and the Steelers can make it work from him with a personality standpoint and a work ethic standpoint, I really hope he stays here in Pittsburgh. However, he is just an absolute wild card, not blocking for people at times, terrible effort running routes at times, the personality stuff. He gets into fights all the time. He's late to practice and meetings, according to multiple reports inside the Steelers building. Is it possible that Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and the Steelers are just like, you know what, man? He's talented, but we've had enough. We're gonna move on from him next offseason. I don't think it's that crazy, as much as I want George Pickens to work here in Pittsburgh. And the way that the Steelers could address this offseason is that you could trade Pickens, sign a legit #1 receiver in free agency, and then draft a wide receiver early in the draft. That way you would have a legit veteran #1 receiver. You would also have a young guy coming up that can be your future #1 receiver. Plus you have both Calvin Austin III and hopefully Roman Wilson is available to you next year as well. So you can really bolster this Steelers wide receiver room even if you trade George Pickens next offseason. Not necessarily saying that's what I would want to do, but if they wanted to trade Pickens, they could absolutely bolster this wide receiver room again. Now, unfortunately, I think that GP honestly isn't going to be worth a ton on the open trade market. If Mike Tomlin can't rein him in and the Steelers are giving up on a talent like that, how much are other teams going to want to pay for a receiver like George Pickens and have to pay him a massive contract? That's going to be a major risk for whatever team ends up trading for him. So honestly, I think if the Steelers end up trading him, you're going to get at best a round 3 pick, maybe a round 4 pick. And, I know that's not what Steelers fans would want for him. They'd want a first or a second at least for George Pickens. But with the risks involved, the personality stuff, late to meetings and practices, all these different things, the fighting with players during games, that's going to be stuff that teams have concerns about. And if they're going to be paying him a big contract, they're probably not going to want to pay a first or second round pick. So when it comes to the free agencies, free agent wide receivers that could be at the Steelers' disposal here. Some good players that I think the Steelers could consider: T. Higgins. Now, Spotrac, all these numbers come from the market value from Spotrac, and I think that their evaluation of T. Higgins is way below what he's actually going to make. I think he's going to make way more than $18.8 million per year. I think it's going to be more closer to like $28 or $27 million per season, maybe even more than that over 5 years. So just keep that in mind. DeAndre Hopkins is getting older, so he might sign a 1-year contract, relatively team-friendly. That's certainly one that you could consider. Amari Cooper is somebody that's had a down year this year, but, he's still, potentially would want to come to Pittsburgh and play Cleveland twice a year. His current contract is projected to be 2 years, $15 million per year. And then Stephon Diggs is slated to be a free agent as well after injuring his ACL with Houston this season. He's projected to make 2 years, $22 million per season, but after the ACL tear, that might end up going down. Then after you pick one of those receivers to sign in free agency, you could go out and get a top receiver potentially in the first round. This is all the first round wide receivers projected by the Pro Football Focus big board right now. You got McMillan out of Arizona. I really don't think the Steelers are going to be in position to take him, or Luther Burden out of Missouri. Now, Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State is a guy that I think the Steelers might just be in position to take. Isaiah Bond, as much as producer Coop loves Isaiah Bond, he's not a great fit for the Steelers. Not a blocker, smaller guy. He's not really a downfield threat vertically down the sideline. So I don't think Bond is a great fit, but Alec Ayomanor, I probably just butchered that, man, but out of Stanford, he's certainly a bigger receiver that could work here in Pittsburgh. He's currently ranked 28th on the Pro Football Focus big board. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Will George Pickens be a Steeler next year? For me personally, guys, I could certainly see a world where they trade him, but I think the more likely scenario is GP is back with the Steelers next year. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Yes or no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no. Now let's move on to Russell Wilson here, guys. And, you probably think that Russell Wilson has played pretty darn well for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. But what if I told you that by the numbers, this guy is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the National Football League this year since he took over as the Steelers starting quarterback this year? Well, we'll be breaking down some numbers here in just a second that might shock you as to just how well Russell Wilson is playing as the QB1 of your Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And let me ask you guys kind of a weird question here. How do you guys deodorize your balls in the shower or in the morning? Most people will just use soap in the shower or even just put some cologne down there. I mean, that's got to burn. But after a few hours, that smell starts to fade and a less desirable smell starts to come up during the day. Lucky for you, our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant have come up with the perfect solution with their brand new spray deodorant. It won't irritate your sensitive bits because the first ingredient is water, not alcohol, and it's proven to control odor for 72 hours. It also has a 360-degree spray and works upside down, so it's perfect for getting this stuff anywhere on your body from any angle. Take advantage of Mando's special offer just for Steelers Talk listeners, which gives new customers $5 off their best-selling starter pack with code CHAT at shopmando.com. Guys, right now I'm holding what you guys can potentially get in your starter pack. It is the body wash, specifically bourbon leather. I got a big bottle of this at home because once we started partnering with Mando and they gave us the little samples, once I tried it, I never went back. It makes me smell fresh all day long. They also have cologne quality scents. My personal favorite is the bourbon leather. And let me tell you guys, once you try this body wash, you are not going to go back. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. You can pick the body wash or their deodorant wipes are also highly recommended as well. Plus, you get free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market today. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. It's time to smell better naked with whole body deodorant today. So let's take a look here at some stats from Russell Wilson and how he is among the best in the National Football League among quarterbacks in most of these major kind of categories. He's right now first in yards per attempt at 8.7. That is the largest and the most of his career. Now, obviously, this is just a 6-game sample size, but Russell Wilson is more efficient now than he has ever been in his career in terms of a yards per attempt standpoint. He's also top 10 in touchdown percentage. He's top 6 in on-target percentage, so he's still one of the more accurate quarterbacks in football. Then the big-time throw percentage. These are the amounts of throws into tight windows, really, really good high-leverage throws down the field. He's 5th right now at 6.1% big-time throws. And then the turnover-worthy play percentage, it's as low as anybody in football at 1.3. That is excellent for somebody that has played his first 6 games so far this year. Then the passer rating is top 5. The EPA is pretty good. And guys, by the white EPA, you might see 11th and say, that's not that good. But you got to remember, that's for the entire season. He missed the first 6 games of the year, and he's still ranking 11th in EPA. That is excellent right there. And all that, guys, all of that, while being pressured the most out of any starting quarterback in the National Football League right now. He's getting pressured on 42.9% of his throws, and he's putting up this kind of production. All right, so pretty much, guys, what these numbers tell you is that Russell Wilson appears to be officially back after kind of 2 tough seasons there in Denver. Never really found an offensive play caller that fit with his kind of system. This guy's absolutely balling out right now. And guys, he's doing it with one of, the least talented wide receiver rooms in the National Football League. Obviously, George Pickens is great, but, we talked about it all offseason. This team likely needs to add another receiver. Nuh-uh. Russell Wilson is using his running backs. He's using his tight ends. He's spreading it out to guys like Calvin Austin III, Michael Pruitt even last week, right? So he's doing it with so many different guys here, where Russell Wilson is just playing so freaking well. Despite the adversity of that pressure that he is facing. And I mean, plain simply, when you look at these numbers right now, there's no other way to put it. He is one of, if not the best quarterback in the National Football League as we sit here today. So fill in the blank for me down there in the comments section. Russell Wilson is a top blank quarterback in the NFL right now. Let me know what you guys' answer is down there in the comments section. For me personally, I think he's definitely in that top 10 conversation. And honestly, you can make an argument for even higher than that. So now let's talk a little bit here about the latest Steelers injury updates here on Thursday as this team prepares to take on the Browns in Week 14. Some good news here. Corey Trice Jr. was officially activated off the IR. He's been dealing with that hamstring injury as of late, since very early in the season. This guy's barely played any NFL football in his first 2 seasons as a cornerback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had that ACL tear last year. He dealt with a hamstring injury this year. He will be back for the Cleveland Browns game here in Week 14. Then Calvin Austin III was at practice to start the week here. He is a limited participant. Right now, he is in concussion protocol, but the fact that he's on the field and he is practicing is good news if you're hoping that Calvin Austin III is going to be on the field on Sunday. We'll keep you guys updated with his status as the week goes on. So before I go here, I do have some final items to discuss here on Steelers Talk before I let you go. First up, another Arthur Smith rumor here, where Arthur Smith is currently the second highest odds to be the next head coach of the New York Jets. And, just look at that. He kind of looks like a Jets coach, doesn't he there, Coop? We talked about him potentially going to the Bears, potentially going to the UNC Tar Heels. We've talked a lot about Art this week, including yesterday's video where we talked about the recent rumor about him going to the Chicago Bears. So I'll put the link to that one in the comments and description of today's show. Plus, in that video, I revealed my latest top 10 offensive coordinator candidates for the Steelers if Arthur Smith decides to leave. If you guys want to see my top 10 OC targets list, it's going to be in that video. Again, I'll put that link in the comments and description. Also, there's somebody that, I talked about quite a bit 2 years ago in the draft process that the Steelers worked out today, and it is the Hawaiian Mountain himself, Siaki Ika. The nose tackle worked out for the Steelers today. No, he did not sign with the Steelers, at least not at the time of me recording this video. He had a really tough go of it in Cleveland since he was drafted out of Baylor. But he is somebody that I was pretty excited about because there's a lot of man right there, man. So if you want to bring him in as kind of a stopgap run stuffer, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that if the Steelers wanted to bring him in for a practice squad spot. And then also the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year finalists have been announced. And this year, it's been Cam Hayward for quite a while here before he ended up winning last year, Coop. This year, it's Larry Ogunjobi, another Steelers defensive lineman, getting nominated for Man of the Year. So congratulations to Larry O, and we wish him the best of luck in the final voting and the final tally of this year's Man of the Year search. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've made it to the end of today's edition of Steelers Talk. Thank you to everybody that made it to the end of today's show. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, Coop. So, what'd you think of the George Pickens segment there? Because I know it's a little spicy. Because I know Steelers fans really love them some George Pickens, and I understand why. He's awesome, man, and I love him as a player just as much as anybody. But the fact is, he's a volatile personality, and if the Steelers go up to him and say, "We're not giving you an extension this offseason," would anybody be shocked if George Pickens said? Or demanded a trade out of Pittsburgh next offseason? I wouldn't.
It wouldn't shock me at all. And it also wouldn't shock me if George Pickens left the Steelers and went to any other organization. I don't know if he works out. I think the Steelers structure is so good in place with Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, the Rooney family, etc., that if Pickens is to go to another organization, they're not going to tolerate his bullshit, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And, the Steelers are usually known for, corralling these big personalities at wide receiver. I mean, they held down Antonio Brown as long as anybody could.
Le'Veon Bell, I know he's not a receiver, but.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell is another one. And then Le'Veon eventually, just said, I'm not playing for you because they didn't give him that extension. So, there's multiple people right now that are reporting that the Steelers do not plan to give George Pickens an extension next year. And, there's other people that are speculating that George is going to demand a trade out of Pittsburgh next year if he doesn't get that extension. And, what would the Steelers rather do? Take a risk on him and take that extension, or trade him and then try to address the position in other ways?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's going to be the question this offseason. And honestly, I could see it playing out either way.
Yeah, that'll be a decision for Omar Khan to make, certainly. One thing I did want to get to as well, non-Steelers related, Bill Belichick interviewed with the UNC Tar Heels today. It has been confirmed that he interviewed with the UNC Tar Heels.
And it has also been reported that he is not UNC's first choice.
That is crazy.
Which, he's the greatest head coach in the history of the National Football League. And he's the backup plan for the UNC Tar Heels.
That is unbelievable. But I before today, could have never imagined Bill Belichick coaching college football. But here we are.
But on one final note here on George Pickens before we move on here. Russell Wilson is going to advocate for him.
Yep.
He has been his biggest defender throughout this entire thing. So I think Russell Wilson is the perfect quarterback for George Pickens. Number two, I think because Pickens fits so well with Russ's skill set as a 50-50 ball winner and vertical threat, I mean, you got to do whatever you can to keep him in the building. You got to do whatever you can to try to make it work.
What do you think the extension looks like, though?
He's going to want at least $30+ million. Like, he's going to say, like, he is, I know, it's a lot of money, and it's going to be a big risk for Pittsburgh if they want to bring him back for that.
I don't know if I can give the George Pickens that kind of money.
I mean, the way it usually works is these receivers, they're like angels. They're on their first contract, and then they get paid, and then they turn into devils.
Yeah.
The thing with George is that he's having these antics on his rookie contract.
He's already a demon.
So what is he going to look like when you pay him $30+ million a year? Like, that's a big question to ask here, guys, and it is one that is worth asking. Now, I love George. I want him here. If you can make it work and if he can, kind of tighten up here, I absolutely want him paired with Russell Wilson because those two are a perfect pairing.
I agree.
But, they traded Deontay Johnson, a very productive receiver, last offseason for really not that much at the time. Dante Jackson's worked out, but he wasn't really worth all that much in terms of trade capital last year. they pretty much traded Deontay Johnson for pretty much no trade capital at the time. And, like, it worked out for the Steelers. And the reason why they did that was because he was a cancer to the locker room, apparently. I mean, right now, George Pickens seems like he's the diva. He's the cancer in the locker room. So if the Steelers don't want to deal with that, I can't say I would be shocked if Pickens is traded next offseason. But I really hope he's not. I really hope he isn't.
That'll be one of the biggest stories of the offseason, man. No doubt about it.
And also, if the Steelers are giving up on Pickens, what team is going to trust him enough to trade a high draft pick for him and then give him a big contract extension?
Nobody.
Like, you'd have to be desperate for a number one receiver to do that. I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty tricky situation. Personally, I think George is a time bomb that's just it's going to go off at some point. Yeah. And all I got to say is that if you're the Steelers, you better be prepared for when that bomb goes off. You better have a backup plan at wide receiver 1 in case George Pickens absolutely blows up in your face. That's all I'm going to say. I love the kid. I love the talent. I'm going to cheer for him as long as he's a Pittsburgh Steeler for sure, and we're going to have his back. But I can't say I'd be shocked if he ends up getting traded this offseason.
I don't disagree whatsoever, man.
All right, so let's shift here to Week 14. My preview of Cleveland Browns versus Pittsburgh Steelers.
Continue, by the way, to get those questions in for the mailbag.
Yes, mailbag. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get your question on the mailbag today. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Let's get into the Week 14 preview. Coop, we ready to go?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, the Week 14 preview here on Steelers Talk is coming at you right now. The Steelers look for some much-needed revenge here in Week 14 after losing to the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football back in Week 12. This time, there will not be a blizzard. It will be in Pittsburgh's home stadium, and I have a feeling Steelers fans are going to take a collective sigh of relief after the Steelers beat the Browns on Sunday. Welcome in to the Steelers Talk Preview. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Throughout this game, today's video, I'm going to be breaking down keys to victory, team trends, why I think the Steelers are going to beat the Browns on Sunday afternoon and get that much-needed revenge. We're going to be going live for this football game right here on Steelers Talk, guys. Me and Coop, we're going to be chopping it up, instant reactions, hour-long pregame show, extensive postgame show, all that great stuff, guys. So if you want to join the largest Steelers community of fans on game days here on YouTube, we start our watch party on Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you join us then, and make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already to never miss a Steelers Talk watch party throughout the 2024 season. All right, so let's talk about this matchup here. Where, I'm kind of glad that the Steelers get to play the Browns just 2 weeks after they lost to them, because I feel like a lot of people panicked after that loss against Cleveland, where it was a snow game. It was on a short week. You were on the road. There was a lot of things going against the Steelers heading into that game. Where this time it feels like all the advantages now go into the Steelers category. Cleveland's coming off a Monday night football game, so they've had a shorter week than Pittsburgh. All these different things. Also, it's not going to be snowy. It's going to be relatively cold, but it's going to be clear conditions in Pittsburgh on Sunday. At least that's what the forecast is at the time that I am recording this video. And then you're at home, so you're not dealing with the Cleveland Browns crowd. You have your crowd. You got Renegade blasting in the fourth quarter if you need it. This certainly seems like a lot of things are going in Pittsburgh's direction heading into this one. You take a look here at the Cleveland Browns and what they're going to bring from a schematic standpoint. Kevin Stefanski is their head coach. You got the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, who runs kind of a hybrid style system between kind of a spread it out, kind of Earhart-Perkins type system, and then also mixing it with the second generation of the West Coast that Kevin Stefanski generally runs. Then you got Jim Schwartz, who runs an aggressive 4-3. You're going to see lots of cover one, lots of blitzing, lots of man coverage. That's what Jim Schwartz likes to do. So now that we've gotten the scheme out of the way here, let's take a look at the results for Cleveland so far this season. Early portion of the season, definitely not good. Their only win came against the lowly Jaguars on the road, losing to a lot of good teams. Then, you get to the second half of their season here, and they've come up with a couple of wins. They beat the Ravens, they beat the Steelers in the division, but outside of that, they haven't really been able to collect many W's, currently sitting with just 3 wins on the year. And now you take a look back here to Week 12, with the Thursday night football here between the Steelers and Browns in that snow game. Browns ended up winning that one 24-19. And, I thought Russell Wilson actually played really well in the conditions. He was really good on 3rd and 4th down. I think he was 12 of 13 in 3rd and 4th down situations in that one. But also Jameis Winston came up really big on 4th down. They were 4 for 4 on 4th down conversions there in that football game. And then also they came up with some big moments in the 4th quarter in particular. Jerry Jeudy also had a good day on Joey Porter Jr., so watch out for that potential matchup. Take a look here at the team stats in that football game. So you had the same yards per play. I don't expect that to be the same this game. You also look at the red zone percentage there, the weighty downs as well. You look at the Browns, 5 of 14, Steelers 8 of 19. By the way, the Browns were 1 of 11 on 3rd down in that, or 1 for 10 on 3rd down, and they were 4 for 4 on 4th down. So kind of crazy for the Browns there. Red zone, the Browns were able to collect touchdowns on 3 of their 4 red zone trips. The penalties was pretty even, I would say. The Browns got penalized a little bit more, but then the Browns gave up more turnovers. So that's what the team stats look like in that particular football game. But I think this game's going to be different, all right, plain and simply. And I alluded to it earlier. It's going to be clear weather conditions, no short week for the Steelers. In fact, the Browns have kind of a technical short week here because they just played on Monday Night Football, so they're less rested. And then you're at Acrisure Stadium, which obviously gives the advantage to the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I don't expect the Browns to have the same advantages that they had on Thursday Night Football. So you take a look here at the Browns offense here. Jameis Winston's actually been playing pretty decently, throwing the ball down the field, specifically to Jerry Jeudy, who's going to be kind of their main offensive weapon. Their 2 running backs, Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb, are really a true committee at this point in Cleveland. And David Njoku is a big, hulking tight end that they like to use over the middle as well. Take a look at the team trends this year. Browns with Jameis Winston as their quarterback this year is still not a very good offense. It was even worse with Deshaun Watson. But even with Jameis, they're not the most efficient unit out there. And the Steelers defense, of course, very, very good in most defensive categories. And they are the best in football at turning the football over. And if you know anything about Jameis Winston, is he loves to turn the ball over. As he said himself, Lord, please deliver me from these pick sixes. So the points per game trends here, the Browns offense is expected, they get 21.8 points per game with Jameis at quarterback. The Steelers are giving up 18.7. So that would point to the Browns scoring about 20 points on Sunday afternoon. So just keep that in mind. Then we get over to the defensive side of the ball. Myles Garrett absolutely dominated the football game on Thursday Night Football in Cleveland, so keep your eye on him. Denzel Ward is an excellent press man corner on the outside. And then Dalvin Tomlinson, really good run stuffer in the middle, played really well against the Steelers 2 weeks ago. And then Greg Newsome is another good corner on the outside as well that can also play a little bit in the slot. Take a look at the team trends here. Steelers with Russell Wilson versus the Browns defense. Browns defense isn't very good. They're okay on 3rd downs. But that's really about it. Everything else, they're really down in the dumps. They continue to try to play this uber aggressive, heavy man coverage system, but they've had penalties. They don't have the personnel to run this defense, but Jim Schwartz is going to run what he likes to run there in Cleveland. So you take a look at the points per game trends. The Steelers are scoring 24.7 points with Russ at quarterback this year. Browns are giving up 25.7 points per game on defense this year. So that would point to 24 points for the Steelers on Sunday, which of course means a projection of 24-20 as the final score if you cross-reference the points per game trends between these two teams. So it's slightly outside of the margin of error. Margin of error is around 3 points or so in terms of these projections. So the Steelers are the favorite, but it's definitely a bit of a closer projection than what it was even 2 weeks ago between these two opponents. So still to come here on the Steelers Talk Preview, keys to victory versus the Browns. I got some different keys to victory this week than it was in that previous week on Thursday Night Football. Also, we got my updated Jameis Winston scouting report to get to you guys, and then we got my Week 14 score prediction, my official projection as to what the final score will be in Pittsburgh this weekend. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. And folks, we all know that experiencing a Steelers football game live is unlike anything you can get from watching the game on your couch, especially at Acrisure Stadium, because at this time of the year, the weather is cold, Renegades blasted in the 4th quarter, the terrible towels are flying. Just nothing like it, man, if you're there in person watching the Steelers play football. So if you want to go see more Steelers games this year and you want to get your butt in an Acrisure Stadium seat, before this season is over. Use the brand new feature from our friends at Game Time called Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Simply select the Game Time Picks button at the top of the screen when you select a specific event, and then it's automatically going to filter through their entire database of tickets to find you the best tickets with the best prices, with the best seats for you and your family. What I love about using the Game Time app and why it's the only ticketing app I have on my phone is you get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event, all-in pricing so you don't get slapped with a crazy fee at checkout, and flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS. It's right down there in the bottom right of your screen right now for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, guys. It's just for that first purchase. Again, create an account with Game Time today and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off that first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. My first key to victory here is to take advantage of Jameis Winston's mistakes. Hopefully the Lord does not deliver Jameis from those pick sixes this weekend, and hopefully somebody can take one of his interceptions to the house. You take a look here at my scouting report. Very similar to what it was a couple weeks ago, guys. The arm strength is still really good. He pushes the ball down the field. Very aggressive quarterback, and put up a lot of yards throughout the day. We saw that on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. Huge amounts of passing yards for him. But the cons, the decision-making still isn't very good. The footwork is all over the place, which affects accuracy. You know, Jameis is just the ultimate Evel Knievel style quarterback where he's going to sling that thing. He's not going to be afraid to throw it down the field, so the Steelers better be on their P's and Q's, specifically when guarding Jerry Jeudy. But that's where I'm at right now. And the Steelers have done a really good job of this, guys. Over the last 3 games, they have 3 turnovers apiece, all right? Over the last 3 games where they've had the opening stretch of their AFC North gauntlet against the Baltimore Ravens, against the Cleveland Browns, against the Cincinnati Bengals, each and every game, 3 turnovers. So hopefully the Steelers can continue that trend here in this one. And with Jameis Winston putting the ball in harm's way as he is right now, I think that the Steelers will certainly have those opportunities. Another thing that the Steelers need to do on defense is contain Jerry Jeudy, because he is a dynamic threat, and he is really establishing himself as a true number 1 receiver in the National Football League right now. Joey Porter Jr. In the snow really got toasted by him, if we're being honest, all right? But Joey, in those situations, it's harder to be the cornerback because you don't know where the receiver's going. So it's hard to get your footing on kind of the wet, slippery field that was the Cleveland Browns Stadium there on Thursday Night Football. This time it's going to be in his house. It's going to be clear conditions. He's going to be able to grip the grass at Acrisure, and I think that that's going to help him shut down Jerry Jeudy a little bit more. And I hope JPJ is ready to go because this is a big-time matchup. Another thing that the Steelers defense needs to do is they need to shape up their defense in the red zone. And this has been a big point of emphasis for Mike Tomlin in his press conferences. Keeps talking about how this team needs to do better in the red zone. And this team went from the number 1 red zone defense in the league to 15th in several weeks here since week 10. So you take a look here at what the Browns have been doing. Last 2 weeks, including against the Steelers, by the way, they're 6 of 8. In their red zone trips, scoring touchdowns. So Jameis Winston and this Browns offense has done a lot better at scoring touchdowns in the red area. And then you look at the Steelers, and it's the exact opposite here, where opponents are 12 of 14 scoring touchdowns against Pittsburgh since week 10. So that's since the Commanders game. Their opponents have scored touchdowns on 12 of their 14 red zone trips. That's not good enough, man. And the Steelers earlier in the season were so good in the red zone. Now, over the last, the second half of the season here, they haven't been quite as good. I hope that they flip the script once again and maybe make Jameis go over in the red zone this week. Shifting over to the offensive side of the ball, the one player on the Browns defense you can't let dominate is Myles Garrett. Now, that's obviously easier said than done. He's way more talented than Dan Moore Jr., the Steelers' left tackle, is. But you got to find ways, man, to chip him, to double team him, to make sure that he doesn't get to Russell Wilson as much as he did in the first half of that Thursday Night Football game, or else it's going to be another long day for the Steelers offense. Then we get to the final thing here, and that's to let Russ cook again, all right? Last week, you let him cook. 38 pass attempts, and you saw the result, man. Over 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He was absolutely fantastic throughout the day, and I think that, the Steelers, after that mini bye week where they really had the opportunity to look at what they were doing well, they understood that Russell Wilson is the best thing about the Steelers offense right now, and he is the one orchestrating this recent offensive success for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I do think they put the ball in his hands, and I think Russ delivers another 30-plus point performance in this one, and the Steelers get their revenge. I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this one 34-24. I do think Jameis and, the Browns will get their shots in there. I don't think this will be a cakewalk. It's a divisional matchup. The Browns are moving the football offensively lately. They are scoring touchdowns in the red zone where the Steelers are struggling. But I think Russell Wilson, once again, is going to have a phenomenal game. It's not going to be a weather game like it was on Thursday Night Football 2 weeks ago. Give me the Steelers to win at Acrisure and get to 10-3. So now it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comments section. Predict the score of Steelers versus Browns down there in the comments section. Can't wait to see your score predictions here for this week's matchup. So make sure you get down there right now. Let me know who you think is going to win and what you think the score is going to be. Thank you for making it to the end of this week's Steelers Talk preview. We do previews like this every single week, getting you guys ready for every single Steelers game. Plus, we put out a free and informative Steelers video breaking down the latest news and rumors on the Steelers every single day. We're also going to be going live on Sunday for this Week 14 matchup. Me and Coop breaking everything down with you guys. Super chat giveaways, all that great stuff. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. Nightmare coming in with a $10 super chat. What's up, Nightmare? Says, we have many people on their last year of their contracts or on their last year of rookie deal with Pittsburgh. Who do you think will be the ones re-signed and why? Also, prayers sent to CWK. Did you see what's going on with CWK?
Yeah, CWK lost a friend this morning, so we're thinking of you, man. CWK.
CWK, that sucks, man. We love you, CWK. And that really does suck.
Yeah, that's always tough, man.
There's been some people that have lost some people in our community this year, unfortunately. I think, Hot Rod lost somebody.
Yep.
I think Captain Ford Guns lost his dad about a year ago. So that sucks, CWK. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening to the show, CWK. You're a real one. You're a black diamond for a reason. So cheers to your friend, CWK.
Nightmare? As far as your question goes, we will answer this on the mailbag coming up in just a few moments.
Yes, absolutely, Nightmare. We'll answer that on the question here, or answer that on the mailbag here in just a second. I want to take a look here real quick at the free agents that the Steelers have. I know that they have some specific guys, but honestly, I think the Steelers might let a few of these guys walk and bring in new players next year.
I could see that.
Especially depending on how much it's going to cost to bring back Russell Wilson. Because I think at this point, the Steelers are going to pay whatever it takes to get him back. But the question is, what's going to be Russ's price? Does he want to take less money so that you can put more around him? Or does he try to get one more really big bag before the end of his career?
For sure.
So I'm going to pull up Pittsburgh here. All right. Yeah, okay. So make sure you guys get those questions in if you haven't already. I don't know how many questions we've got.
Good.
We're good right now?
Yep.
So use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the show. It seems like at this point, guys, if you want to get a question in, you're going to have to Super Chat. Just so you guys know, any dollar amount, $1, $2, $5, $10, doesn't matter, guys. If you want to get your question on the show, I think at this point you're going to have to Super Chat for that to get on the final cut of this mailbag here. So without further ado, let's get into the mailbag right now. Can't wait to see your questions. The Steelers Talk mailbag is coming at you guys right now.
Oh, I might need to take myself off screen first.
Maybe.
There we go. All right, now it's coming for real.
Welcome into this week's Steelers Talk mailbag, where I answer your questions on the black and gold. Welcome into the show. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and I love doing this segment every single week with you guys because you guys get to tell me what Steelers topics that you have questions about and you want me to talk about with you guys right here on the show. If you want to get a question on a future Steelers Talk mailbag, you guys can put hashtag Steelers down in the comment section right now, or you guys can join us for our live shows every single Thursday starting at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Just so you guys know, you have to click that subscribe button and be a subscriber to be eligible to get your question on the show. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, now would be a great time to do so. With that, I'll pause and open it up for questions, starting with a $10 super chat from my man Pickens Burner. It says, I've heard Browns fans say Jerry Jeudy is better than George Pickens. What do you say to that? I say that's a bunch of hogwash. Now, I think Jerry Jeudy's had a really good season this year. Ever since they traded Amari Cooper, he's been really, really good, especially with Jameis Winston. But George Pickens is a top 5 receiver in the league in terms of pure talent. He is arguably, I don't even know if it's arguable, he's the best spectacular catch receiver in the National Football League, making those 50-50 balls turn into 80-20 balls. And then, he's phenomenal after the catch. How many times have we seen this guy take a dig or a slant to the house? Makes guys miss in the screen game as well. Pickens is unbelievably good and unbelievably talented. So if we're just talking about these two players on the field, there's not many players that stack up with GP. Then we got one from Nightmare here, $10 super chat, says we have many people on their last year of their contracts on their last year of the rookie deals in Pittsburgh. Who do you think will be the ones re-signed and why? So I think they'll bring back Jaylen Warren in some capacity there. He's a restricted free agent, so whether he signs his tender there, his qualifying offer, or they match whatever another team is willing to pay him, I think the Steelers want him back. Also, I think Landon Roberts is somebody that I think that they're probably going to let walk. I think they probably let multiple people walk here. Landon Roberts, because you got Peyton Wilson waiting in the wings. Dan Moore Jr., I think, is somebody they let walk because they've got 2 first-round picks in the building right now at offensive tackle. I think they let James Daniels go because Mason McCormick is an up-and-coming player on the interior as well. Justin Fields, I think, is probably going to end up going somewhere else. I hope he doesn't. I hope he stays, but I think he'll probably end up going. The person that I would say you want to bring back, though, as somebody that is on this team right now and is a free agent, is Dante Jackson. Dante is a perfect number 2 corner in the Steelers scheme. Steelers usually like to have one dominant, longer, physical outside corner to be able to put in press, and then they like their other corner to be kind of speedier, more of a zone type of corner, and that's Dante Jackson. And right now he leads the AFC in interceptions with 5. All right, so Dante's been a huge addition to the Steelers defense as a number 2 corner. He loves being in here in Pittsburgh, so I have a feeling the Steelers will bring back Dante Jackson next year. Then we got one from CWK, $5, says, what makes more sense for the Steelers to keep Justin Fields because it is a long-term fix at quarterback? Also, thanks for the support and prayers. I think he's asking whether to bring back Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Makes more sense to bring back Russ because you're a win-now team, right? With Justin Fields, I think your ceiling is limited, all right? Justin Fields statistically wasn't really all that good in the first 6 weeks, if I'm being completely honest with you. The team was 4-2, but they had to win very close games, very low-scoring games. It just wasn't as good as what it is with Russell Wilson right now. Russell Wilson has been arguably one of the best quarterbacks in football statistically since he took over. This offense has really responded to him being injected into this group. Plus, he's got the veteran leadership and the fourth quarter clutch ability that Justin Fields just doesn't have. He's never played in a playoff game, and since he's entered, he has, I think, the lowest quarterback rating of any quarterback in football in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's not the way the Steelers want to play. So, I think that Russ's experience, his clutch factor, his deep ball ability, his touch, make him the superior option there. And for a win-now team like the Steelers, I think that the future is now, and the future is Russell Wilson. Shout out your guy down there in the comments section. Who will be the Steelers' QB1 next year? Right now, I'd say it's at least a 95% chance Russell Wilson. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Still a lot of ball left to be played this season. Will Russell Wilson or someone else be the Steelers' starting quarterback next season? Let me know down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Going from my man Troy Philip Abuga, who is a Black Diamond member. Coop, don't forget his sticker. Says, we will see Mike Williams more since CA3 is in concussion protocol. You'd hope so, Troy. You'd hope so. I thought last week against the Bengals was kind of the week that I was expecting to see more Mike Williams. 10 Steelers players got targets last week, and one of them was not Mike Williams. I mean, that's crazy. Like Michael Pruitt was more involved in the passing game. Ben Skoranek was more involved in the offense than Mike Williams was last week. So with Calvin Austin III in concussion protocol, if he doesn't play this weekend, I'd certainly hope Mike Williams is a big part of the game plan. I guess we'll have to see, but if we know anything about Arthur Smith in this offense, they'll probably go with Van Jefferson. Ugh. All right, before we get into the rest of today's questions, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And let me ask you guys kind of a weird question here. How do you deodorize your balls in the morning? Most people will just use soap in the shower or even just put some cologne down there, which has got a sting. But after a few hours, that smell starts to fade and a less desirable smell starts to come up during the day. Lucky for you, our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant have come up with the perfect solution with their brand new spray deodorant. It won't irritate your sensitive bits because the first ingredient is water, not alcohol, and it's proven to control odor for 72 hours. It also has a 360-degree spray and works upside down. So it's perfect for getting this stuff anywhere on your body from any angle. Take advantage of Mando's special offer just for Steelers Talk listeners, which gives new customers $5 off their best-selling starter pack with code CHAT at shopmando.com. Guys, the number one product that I would recommend from Mando is their body wash. It smells fantastic. It keeps you smelling fresh all day long. And I always was smelling fresh here at Chat Sports, but the way it's really helped me out here, guys, is that a lot of the people here at Chat Sports have been using these Mando products, and the stink that they used to have is no longer there. So thank you so much to Mando for making my life here at Chat Sports that much easier. And Mando's starter pack is perfect for you guys because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, so 2 different types of deodorant, plus 2 free products of your choice, like that mini body wash that we talked about. I love the bourbon leather scent. I highly recommend that. Plus, they got deodorant wipes as well, which are fantastic to use if that's more your thing. Plus, you get free shipping, so there's no reason not to try my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market today. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. It's time to smell better naked with Mando whole body deodorant today. Got a question here from Sheldon who says, what do you think it would take to keep both Wilson and Fields next year? So I think Russell, it's probably going to take, I would say, 30 to 35 million per season over the next 2 years is probably what Russ is going to want. Maybe it gets up to 40. We'll see how well he plays down the stretch and then how much he actually asks for. With Fields, I think it's less about the money and it's more about what other teams see him as. If another team sees him as somebody that could start for them next year and they offer him a chance to start, I think Fields is going to take that opportunity. He's not, if he has the choice between starting for another team or sitting behind Russell Wilson and holding his clipboard, he's going to try to play. All right, plain and simply. But if he doesn't get an opportunity to start next year, I think his number one spot is he would love to come back and play for the Steelers. He has a great relationship with Russ. He loves Mike Tomlin as his coach. All these different things, and he knows he can win with this team if Russell Wilson, God forbid, goes down with an injury. So yes, I think if Fields gets an opportunity to start, he will leave. But if there's not another team out there that wants to bring him in or give him a shot to start, I do think that is when he would decide to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got one from Nothing here. Says, if George Pickens finishes out the season strong, would we extend him? So from my understanding here is that the Steelers, hesitation to give George an extension doesn't have anything to do with football. It has to deal with not showing up to meetings on time, not showing up to practice on time. The unsportsmanlike conduct penalties that seem to happen every single week, the lack of effort in the blocking game, in how he runs his routes. Like Pickens' issue is a personality and an attitude issue, not necessarily what he brings to the football field. So, if he has a great rest of the season and he shapes up his act, I think that's the bigger portion of this here, Nothing. He shapes up his act, yeah, maybe they can give him an extension. But if he continues to show up late, have a bad attitude, fight other players, take all these unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, it kind of seems like it's going towards an eventual stopping point here where it's going to end up being like Deontay Johnson, where they're just going to try to get a locker room cancer out of their locker room. I really hope that's not what it comes to, but if I'm being honest here, George Pickens certainly feels like a ticking time bomb that's eventually going to go off. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will GP be on the team next year? Simple question. Give me a yes or no down there in the comments section. Will George Pickens be on the Steelers next year? Going from Steelers fan 2010 here says, do you think we could sign T. Higgins and still keep GP? It's feasible. George is still on his rookie contract, so it's not that expensive to keep him. And then T. Higgins, depending on how much he wants, I'm guessing he probably wants somewhere close to 28 to 30 million on his next contract. So do the Steelers want to pay that over 5 years for T. Higgins? I mean, maybe. Mike Tomlin has been very complimentary of his play and how he plays the position. His size and his physicality would work wonders for Russell Wilson in this offense. I'd love to see the Steelers add him. So I guess, the answer to that question is yes. You can still get T. Higgins and keep GP at the same time. Going from Pittsburgh Steelers fan 8 here says, do you guys think Cam Johnston will be back for the playoffs? He's talking about the punter here. Who had that injury, I believe it was in week 1, where they had to bring in Corliss Waitman after that. I honestly don't think he's going to be back for the rest of the season. I might be wrong on that, but my understanding is this is a season-ending injury for Johnston here. And honestly, Waitman's doing a good job. I think Corliss Waitman has earned himself a starting punter job in this league next year in free agency with the way that he has played so far this year. So for me personally, guys, I think that Waitman's probably going to be your guy the rest of the year. Going from Mike Z here. What's up, Mike? Says, I will say it again. The Steelers will win the Super Bowl this year. Mike, every single week we get past here, Mike, I'm right there with you even more and more. Russell Wilson is playing incredible football. The defense is still playing very well. They're turning the football over. This team is well coached. This team can move the football on offense for the first time, it seems like, in forever. I'm very excited about this team, Mike. I'm glad to see that you are as well. And make no mistake, folks, the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders. You can take that to the bank. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions on this week's Steelers Talk Mailbag. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more great coverage coming your way in the weeks to come right here on Steelers Talk. All right, Coop. So we got through our segments here. Thursday night football tonight.
Yeah, big one.
Big one in the NFC North. You got the Lions at home versus the Packers. Now, Jordan Love balled out on the Lions' ass on Thanksgiving last year in their building.
Yes, he did.
I kind of feel like he might do it again.
You think he's going to go into Detroit and do it again?
He might. It's definitely not impossible. I think we're going to see some high-level quarterback play today. Two, I'd say, borderline top 10 quarterbacks in the league here. Both of them have their flaws, but
do you think Ben Johnson is finally a head coach next year somewhere?
I mean, Ben Johnson's one of the more hyped head coaching hires in the history of the NFL. Like, it's at the level of an Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan hiring here at this point, because he's got multiple years of high-level coordinator experience. He's got the best offense in football. He's turned around the career of Jared Goff, who was traded.
He was damn near almost out of the league.
I mean, he pretty much was. I mean, he was down to kind of like, all right, Jared,
this is it.
You got to do it this year. And then all of a sudden, he turns into a good quarterback thanks to the tutelage of Ben Johnson. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. I kind of feel like Ben Johnson's going to go to the Bears. That's the job he wanted last offseason. Then they didn't fire Flus. So I think, and then he decided not to take the Commander's job, which Jaden Daniels is playing pretty damn well. I think he kind of maybe wishes he would have taken that job, but you're looking a little bright here. Does this look better? Yeah, that looks way better. Okay. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one tonight. The Vikings are also playing very well. And of course, the Lions are having their best season in franchise history, and they might not be in first place in the division by the end of this weekend.
You said if they lose tonight, it's a 3-way tie, right?
No, technically the Packers, I think, have 3 losses.
Oh, yeah, they do. So but they could still not be in first place.
But the Vikings could win this weekend against LA, and I think they could take first place.
That would be just
insane. If I'm not mistaken, I think that the Vikings can take first place in the division here if the Lions lose tonight and the Vikings win.
What a tasty division that is.
It's a very tasty division.
Too bad the Bears stink.
3 playoff teams, and honestly, the Bears have
They're not bad.
The Bears have played the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings all within the last 3 weeks, and they've played them hard every time. They should have
find a way to lose.
Yeah, they should have won maybe all of those ball games, and because Eberflus is just absolutely terrible at game management, they lost all 3. Which is just unbelievable. You can make an argument the Bears should be a playoff team right now. If they would have, if they have a decent head coach, the Bears are a playoff team right now. Think about that.
You're not wrong, honestly. You're not wrong. I mean, that division's crazy. Yeah, that should be a good one tonight. I'll be locked into the Mavericks and Wizards, but I'll also be watching that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to give a big shout out here to all the real ones that watched with us today. We got Dylan Lewandowski,
Bodie Irwin
in the chat. Bodie Irwin is here. Jacob. Pat Lepla, Devo Structures here, nothing. Nothing says, Jack, who do you think will be the wide receiver 2 next year? It's just so unpredictable, man, because I don't know what's going to happen with GP. Like, is he going to be here? Like,
this entire room could be restructured.
Exactly, it
You
could.
have no idea.
So I honestly have no idea where to even start with that question there. Nothing. I wish I had a better answer for you. Christian is here. Ben is here. Hip Hop Anonymous. I love Hip Hop Anonymous. I love that name, man. We've got Marissa News. Alex Manorful is here. Bernard is here. Good stuff, man. Bernard says Pittsburgh not paying a 36-year-old quarterback that kind of money.
What is that kind of money?
I mean, I think what I said was 35 to 40 million.
It's probably what they're going to have to
By
pay
the
him.
way, let's take a look at the AAV, the top AAVs of the quarterback position here. Highest paid quarterbacks. And let's just see what 35 million would rank Russ right now.
I'm going to guess 35 million is...
I'm going to guess it's not even
I was going to say 15.
top 15.
I was going to say 15.
Average per year. Okay. Dak Prescott is number 1 at 60. Then so 35 would be in between Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. He would be paid the 17th most for somebody. If you want to put up his numbers real quick. I mean, if all it takes is the 17th most money to pay a quarterback that's having the kind of season that he's having, take a look at these numbers, guys. I don't care if he's 36. This is a win-now football team. All right? You don't need a younger quarterback because younger quarterbacks don't win in the playoffs. Experienced guys do. Steelers have the roster to win in the postseason and win Super Bowls now. All right? And Russ is the type of guy that takes care of his body as well as anybody. I wouldn't be shocked if Russ can play another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he can play till he's 40, I bet.
He could play till he's 40. He takes care of his body more than anybody else. You take a look at these numbers, man. First in yards per attempt. That is the ultimate efficiency rating any stat could show you. All right, because it shows you how many yards you're getting per attempt. That's number 1 in the National Football League and the highest of his career. He's also taking care of the football better than anybody in football at just 1.3% turnover-worthy play percentage. He's top 10 in most categories, and the one category, Coop, on this list that he's not top 10, the EPA, he missed the first 6 games of the year.
Exactly.
And he's easily in the top 5 in that, and when it comes to EPA per pass attempt. So Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks statistically in the National Football League, and he's doing it with, I would argue, 2 bona fide receivers, and George Pickens and Calvin Austin III.
Pay that man.
Then you got Pat Freiermuth, who's good, but Russell Wilson is absolutely balling out. So if you're gonna pay, if he wants $35 million over per season over the next 2 years to be this team's quarterback, that's a steal.
You're giving it to him.
That's a steal.
Yep.
If he wants $40 a year, I'm giving it to him.
You have to. You don't have a choice.
Like, would you rather have Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers next year? Would you rather have Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins next year? Would you rather have Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold next year? Sam is the only one that I would even think about it.
I might take Kirk.
I'm not taking Kirk, dude. He's like Matt Ryan at this point with how shot his arm is.
He does have a noodle arm.
Noodle arm Cousins, man. Plus his turnover-worthy play percentage, I think, ranks like 40th in the league this year. He's turned the ball over a lot because he can't throw it into tight windows anymore.
That's why they drafted Michael Penix.
That's why they drafted the Penix. Absolutely. All right, man. I appreciate each and every one of you guys stopping by. Sunday, noon. We're going live for Steelers versus Browns. Going to get some much-needed revenge. We got a lot of fun stuff on Sunday playing for you guys. Lots of giveaways, lots of fun promotions, all this great stuff. It's Browns week, baby. We're going all out. Hope you will as well. Join us 12 p.m. On Sunday. And until then, guys, here we go with Steelers.
Adios.